my HBS class know that I choose a different walk-up music for every guest, and I let them give input for that, which sometimes can be explicit and not great. But anyway, it's great to be here and great to have an opportunity to follow this amazing panel. I know two of the three panelists well, as they were former students at Harvard. And every time I come to Babson, I'm always just really excited to see this cross-pollination. And I walk into a room like this with a belief. And I'll see if any of you can sort of resonate with this belief. But I walk into a room like this and I think to myself every time, there's someone in this room who will be a founder, who in the next 10 years will build a company worth over $1 billion. Could be one of the two panelists, could be one of you, but I walk in just with a fervent belief that extraordinary outcomes are available to each of you, particularly given the moment we're in with this incredible AI wave. So what I'm going to try to do today is share with you, as described, the kind of essence of this book that I just wrote, The Experimentation Machine, which articulates not how to build an AI company necessarily, but how to be an AI native founder, to be a 10x founder, using the modern AI tools to be 10 times more effective in what Anna Sophia described as this like experimentation mindset. And Yinka very beautifully just talked about iteration, iteration, iteration. So that's going to be the theme. I'll do maybe 20 minutes of content and information, and then really excited to just have conversation. So my other books were described. By the way, the book on the far left is for aspiring founders who want to raise money from venture capitalists, but the middle book is for those of you who might want to become startup joiners. There's great honor in being employees number 2 to 200 at a startup. You don't have to have your own idea. My first job out of business school, I was employee number 30 at a venture-backed startup early in the internet days. We eventually went public. It was an extraordinary journey. And it gave me the skills to learn how to be a founder. So the other comment I make when I walk in this room is I think someone in this room is going to be that billion-dollar founder that may also be a billion-dollar joiner. One of my former students in 2013 was a gentleman named Zach Kirkhorn. Zach, after HBS, went to Tesla, joined the finance department. A few years later, became CFO of Tesla and was there over 10 years. And as a 40-year-old, was the CFO of $1 trillion market cap company. So you can either be in this room a billion-dollar founder or a $1 trillion joiner. That's what's in front of you. So let me tell you about the new book and about some of these concepts. I know many of you who have been in the world of technology have heard of the mythical 10x developer, right? The 10x developer, who knows that concept? Gonzalo, of course. Gonzalo, what's a 10x developer? Right, he or she could be 10 times more productive, not 20% more productive or 50% more productive. You know, sometimes if you see someone who's a little better than the next person in sports and in business, they're a little bit better. But in the world of software development, mainly because of the modern cloud tools that allow developers to be so efficient, a 10x developer is who all of you want to hire to help with your startups because they're 10 times more productive than the average developer. Well, we're in a moment today, and this is kind of a running joke that you hear a lot in the venture capital ecosystem, where I don't think AI is going to replace founders anytime soon, but I do believe that founders who use AI, founders who can leverage the modern AI tools to become 10x founders, are rapidly going to replace founders who don't use AI. And so the challenge for each of you is to become a 10x founder, or a 10x joiner, a 10x analyst, a 10x consultant, maybe even a 10x friend, family member, parent, but leveraging the AI tools to be that much more effective as a leader. So Connor had this great point about these technology waves that occur and create opportunity and disruption. I had the great privilege at the early part of my career, 30 plus years ago, to be a part of the Web 1.0 era as an entrepreneur. And as an investor, I've been a part of the Web 2.0 era, the cloud, the crypto era, mobile era. I will tell you the AI era is vastly more impactful than any of these eras arguably combined. So the opportunity set for you as you embark on this era is extraordinary. There's no one, I'm now 55 years old. All of my peers would die to change places with you, to have the opportunity to enter into the workforce in this moment in time. There's a lot of scary things about the moment we're in, and we can get into that maybe in the Q&A, but I'm going to give you the techno-optimist view of this, candidly. And this chart, I think, tells a large part of that story. There's a lot of numbers and a lot of complex pieces in this chart, but it's actually pretty simple at its core. The x-axis is cost, and the y-axis is capabilities. And if you look at the speed with which these AI models have been both improving in cost, dramatically getting cheaper and cheaper, and at the same time, rapidly improving in capabilities, you think to yourself, well, this is not just sort of Moore's law times 10. What we're really seeing is a completely different, soon to be recursive, and I'll come back to that in a minute, recursive capability improvement set. The AI you use today, anything that you're touching today, is the worst AI you'll ever use. The other thing about AI today is that it's being delivered to you for free in one of the 8 billion smartphones out there in the world, or the 2 billion laptops and tablet devices, or in the 1.5 billion cars. So if you think about the speed of adoption, which I'll also come back to, it's extraordinary. And in terms of the recursive capability, look at the top of this chart. Human PhD, that's the capabilities threshold that this chart represents, which the latest model, and this doesn't have, by the way, yesterday's announcement, because the announcements come so fast, so furiously, it's hard to keep up. But yesterday's OpenAI announcement of the 4.5 model, which is another extraordinary step forward. But we're now seeing models that have a capability as strong as a PhD in their field. So what's happening today is that scientific discovery is being enabled by AI, because the AI knows all the laws of physics, all the laws of chemistry, all the laws of biology. So you think about personalized medicine discovery, you think about new chemical compound discovery, and even pointing at itself, you think about new AI algorithmic innovations. You begin to imagine this recursive capability and this loop that will kick in, that will lead to superintelligence, which we are very, very close to. I'll come back to that also in a minute. So you think about what's available in terms of value creation as a result of these extraordinary capabilities at these extraordinary low costs. PwC recently did this study where they articulated that in their estimation, there's a $16 trillion opportunity available. Just to put that number into perspective, that is basically the GDP of the entire country of China. That's how much value is going to be created, both in terms of productivity improvements and in terms of additional capabilities. Now, many of you probably here at Babson, you learn about technology lifecycle adoption curves. You've probably read Crossing the Chasm or read some of these other works that describe the sort of natural adoption curve where any new technology has this sort of slow adoption cycle. What's incredible to me about AI, as I mentioned before, is it's being distributed to you on your existing devices. So just like you take water for granted, and you take electricity for granted, and you take good Wi-Fi for granted, hopefully the Babson Wi-Fi is pretty good. Provost Armoni, I don't know the quality of the Babson Wi-Fi, but when it's not amazing, everybody complains, I'm sure. You're taking AI for granted, the way it's being delivered to you, and it's just being a part of your life. The thing that's so funny to me is when a capability is available to you, Yinka made this description, like at first it seems eating oysters, I think was the analogy you mentioned. Like the first time you do it, it seems crazy. And then afterwards you think, well, of course, everybody eats oysters. Like the first time you all may have experienced that aha moment leveraging AI, you thought this is incredible. Maybe it was voice, maybe it was ChatGPT speaking with you, talking about giving you advice on your vacation. Maybe it was as simple as the first time you used Uber. Those now are just becoming such commonplace capabilities and more to come. The companies that are leveraging these capabilities are the AI companies themselves. They're eating their own dog food, so to speak. So Google recently announced that 1 out of every 4 lines of code is now being written by AI. Okay, that was 3 months ago. My estimate today is it's over 30%. Very soon it will be more than half of the lines of code being written at Google. Amazon, Andy Jassy, who's coming to HBS campus next week, and he'll give us a deeper briefing on this with the faculty. He described their AI platform for managing product data and details. Amazon obviously has an incredibly large number of SKUs, incredibly complex product portfolio. He said their savings were equivalent to the savings of 4,500 developer years. And then in parenthetically, he said in his post, yes, that number is crazy, but real. I was talking to the CEO of OpenTable and Booking.com. Booking.com owns OpenTable, Kayak, and a number of these other travel booking sites. He's been implementing Agentforce. People now know Salesforce is now becoming Agentforce. Like everything they do is about agents. I'll come back to agents in a minute. He said that 75% of his customer service calls at OpenTable are being resolved and handled by the AI customer service agents that they've created. Klarna talks about a similar thing, marketing efficiencies. The amount of capabilities and efficiencies that are being wrung out of the system by these incredible AI companies themselves is extraordinary. And so when you look at the last 3 or 4 years, you see revenue growth, but no headcount growth in these companies. 20, 30, 40% revenue growth with flat headcount. They're just banking these productivity improvements and achieving more with less. So imagine playing that out across the entire economy. There's this great interview with Mark Zuckerberg, not the Joe Rogan one. I don't recommend that one, but the one he did with the Acquired podcast. Those of you who listen to Acquired podcast, highly recommend it. I think there are 2-3-part series on NVIDIA. It was absolutely brilliant. If you want to know why NVIDIA is one of the most valuable companies in the world at $3+ trillion, listen to their podcast. But his interview with them at the Moscone Center in San Francisco a few weeks ago, he had this quote, which was like exactly the quote Yinka gave. Yinka, you were channeling your best Zuck, which is they asked him, okay, Meta, like, what's your product strategy? You've been able to survive the mobile era and the AI era, and you just seem to be getting better and better and better. And he said, we don't have a product strategy. Our strategy is to iterate. If we iterate and learn as quickly as possible, then we're just going to learn faster than any other company. We're just going to put products out there and learn and iterate and iterate and iterate. And that's why when I wrote this book and I thought about this notion of finding product market fit in the age of AI, which is the subtitle, I had this notion of your company, your startup, whether you join it or start it, is in essence an experimentation machine. That's what you're trying to build. You're trying to build a learning experimentation machine, whether again, you're a part of a startup as a founder or as a joiner, to iterate, iterate, iterate as quickly as possible. And my thesis is that AI allows you to do it so much more efficiently and effectively. It's a catalyst for that iteration. The first phase, the phase we're squarely in, is the co-pilot phase, where these AI tools are enabling you to do your work better, faster, more effectively. You all have seen the co-pilot phase. You all use the chatbots. Actually, out of curiosity, how many of you, let's do a quick survey of what tools you guys use. This will be fun. There are 300 million weekly users of ChatGPT. How many of you are roughly a weekly user of ChatGPT? Yeah, almost 100% of this room. Okay. There are roughly, I think the number is tens of millions, maybe 50 million users of Perplexity. How many of you use Perplexity? Okay, cool. Getting more sophisticated now. How many of you use either Cursor, Lovable, V0 as a development tool to leverage the hottest new programming language that's out there, which is English, to do app development and software development? 2 of you, okay. One of the things I tell all of my MBA students is that we're in an extraordinary moment, because it used to be when you would start a company, you needed a technical co-founder. Sometimes pejoratively, you would say you need a coding monkey. And in fact, my Harvard students would go over to MIT and they'd say, hey, can you help me code? I've got this big idea. I just need somebody to develop it for me. Well, now software development has moved into this agentic era. And the agentic era is that the agents do the work for you. The agents make the decisions for you. The agents take actions for you across a range of modalities. And these software development tools, which is the first I would posit of the agentic applications that are becoming mainstream, like Cursor and Lovable and V0 and Replit and others, are providing this incredible capability so that you don't need to be technical to write applications. Anyone in this room who is non-technical can build an app. What you need to do is be skilled at communicating and leveraging these agentic tools, which means having the human judgment, the strategic thinking, the insight, the nuance of the requirements and of the opportunity set that you then would leverage these tools to exploit. So I tell all my MBA students, and I'm going to tell everybody in this room, you should all be builders. 6 months from now, at the end of this semester, early next semester, if I ask this room, how many of you are using these software development tools to build apps? I'm going to guess half or 2/3 of the group would have said yes at that point. That's how fast this adoption is happening. So this agentic future is on us. And what the agentic future means is that now the opportunity set for you as entrepreneurs is expanding dramatically. One of my Flybridge colleagues did this analysis of just one topic, payroll automation. And she said, well, why don't we just look at how much software is spent on payroll automation? And it turns out it's in the couple hundred billions of dollars, $260 billion. Then she said, well, if we could automate tasks across the 170 vertical industries that this analysis represents, and you could apply AI agentic automation to the task, to the workflow of payroll, well, how big is that opportunity? And it turns out that's a $4 trillion opportunity, 16 times as large. So you think about the opportunity available to you as a tech entrepreneur, you're not just going after these IT budgets, you're going after the entire budget. When Connor thinks about his legal AI startup that's doing diligence, documentation, analysis, and reporting, he's not going after the IT spending of the law firm or the IT spending of the investment banks. He's going after the $300,000 a year associates and their $1,000 an hour billings. That's the opportunity set that's available. That's where a lot of that productivity is going to come through. Now, as founders and entrepreneurs, what that means for you is that the old model, which is the model that I grew up in as a venture capitalist over the last 2 decades, where at Flybridge, we would put in $2, $3, $4 million into a seed stage company. They would hire 10 to 15 employees, and they would rush to get to $1 million of annual recurring revenue as kind of the gold standard before advancing to hit the Series A. And the first thing they would do, as I said earlier, is build the development team, hire the engineers, go to MIT, go to Northeastern, go to Olin, try to find the nerds. Any Olin college folks here? No, because they're all starting startups. They don't need to have this conversation yet. Now the model is you're a builder. You're the founder. You're the closest to the customer insight. You can build with a 2-person team, a 3-person team, and you can get to these magical numbers with your smaller team, but with a host of AI agents. In fact, in the next few years, organizations, including Babson, by the way, nonprofits, for-profits, civic organizations, are going to employ more AI agents than humans. And you think about that as a leader, as all of you will be in this new agentic AI forward world, you need to be skilled at spinning up digital employees, managing them, orchestrating their work product, authenticating them, evaluating them, and having them interface properly with humans. It's this management layer that we've, for centuries, built up this science around at Babson and at Harvard and at other institutions. We're now going to need you all to build a science around how to manage those agents. Sam Altman from OpenAI has this great quote from last year. He made this comment at a JP Morgan conference where he said he and his founder buddies, they have this sort of running bet. When will it be that the first billion-dollar solo entrepreneur will be created? So when I made my earlier comment about there's a billion-dollar entrepreneur in this room, maybe you're that one. Maybe you're the solo entrepreneur. A couple of weeks ago, one of the partners at Andreessen, a venture capital firm in the Valley, had this great quote, because we see this all the time now in the last few months because of this acceleration capability. He said, I've lost count of the number of startups that have gone from 0 to 10 million in revenue in the last 12 months, thanks to AI. It used to be the mantra in our business was triple, triple, double, double. You get to 1 million, then you get to 3 million the next year, then you get to 9 million the next year, then double to 18, double to 36, and over 5, 6, 7 years, you build a substantial company. Today, the expectation is you're going to leverage AI to accelerate that growth much faster. Just a couple of days ago, Aaron Griffith in the New York Times wrote this great article. By the way, I hate it when reporters refer to Silicon Valley. They don't really mean the place, Silicon Valley. They mean the startup ecosystem or startup land, because there are plenty of people doing this in New York and yeah, here in Boston too. And building, as we heard 2 of them here, Yinka and Connor, building AI native companies who are now making workers just more and more productive through AI tools and tiny teams. So the essence of the book and the essence of my kind of mantra to you all is leveraging the modern tools, the modern AI tools to be a 10x founder, but doing it in combination with timeless techniques of strategy, insight, customer discovery, finding value, and building an enduring, profitable company. You really need to have both. You can't just be great at the tools, but you also can't solely focus on the value proposition and the profitability curves and profit pools without thinking about building an AI forward startup. And I'll just give you one quick example and then I'll wrap. There's the dropouts, reference Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg. There have been two HBS dropouts started this company, Topline Pro. Topline Pro is a platform for service professionals. Think landscapers, electricians, painters, carpenters, to allow them to build their websites easily for them and create a platform to allow them to interact with customers. As you all know, many service professionals are out in the field, they're on their phones, they're not very good at administrative tasks or operational tasks. They like to be hands-on doing their work and spending less time on administrative back office work, which is also true, by the way, of healthcare professionals. It's also true of lawyers. It's also true of administrators. It's a very common macro theme. So Topline Pro built this platform, and they built it right at the right time. They built it when GPT-2 had come out, is when they first built their product. And they leveraged GPT-2. And I'll tell you how they did that. And then when GPT-3 came out, and 3.5, which of course was ChatGPT's underlying model, and now 4 and 4.5, their platform just keeps getting better and better and better and better. And so as they build this application layer, they're benefiting from these incredible capabilities that are being delivered in this platform. So what do? They allow you to have a pro's content be ingested automatically. So Facebook page, images, Instagrams, what have you. They create a website for the pro. They tell the pro, I've got this website I've created for you. Would you like to subscribe to it? Would you like to own your website and also your listings and your reviews and all this great content? And then they manage the customer relationship for you. So they started doing this automatically using their AI pipeline. And they said, well, we can not just use AI for that. We can use AI to qualify leads and score leads. We can use AI to reach out to the pros. We can use AI to manage the customer relationship, not just build the product, but actually do everything around the product. And I'll show you very quickly this video because they realized that they could also use AI to create, let's see if this works. Yeah, can you run that on the browser? Can you click on that video in the previous slide? This slide, by the way, shows the customer service. They created a chatbot that interacts with the pros, and the pros can say, hey, I'd like to feature this job. And the chatbot says, great, send me a picture. And the pro sends a picture and the chatbot says, great, let me load up that job onto the website. And the AI tooling loads up the job on the website. And then the pro can edit it using the chatbot. So they've eliminated basically all their service costs and they've dramatically improved their sales and marketing pipeline. And if the video can go up in the previous slide, the video. If the video goes up, what you'll see is a video. Yes, that video with the watch video. Yep. You'll see an AI generated sales rep, an avatar of a sales rep doing an AI generated video to an individual pro. Maybe it'll come up, maybe it won't. Let's see. Perfect. Google's authentication engine at work.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah, of course. They've improved their response rates from under 1% to over 10% based on this improvement and personalization. And they've improved and expanded their capability to deliver dozens of videos to thousands of videos on a daily basis. I don't think the videos. Can't do it? Okay, no worries. I'll take it over. I'll take it over. Be back to it. So guys, let me, I'll take the slides again. Ready? Can I have the slide back? Yeah. Thank you. So what's happening next, and then I'll wrap. What's happening next is these capabilities, and this is from a white paper written by a former OpenAI executive, are now becoming recursive. As I mentioned earlier, we're getting to the point where the AI is so powerful that it's doing research on AI. There was a peer-reviewed paper submitted in Japan by a team out of Japan that was accepted by a machine learning conference that was written by an AI. Okay, like this is the moment we're in, and that's going to create this incredible acceleration capability. And those capabilities are just a year or two away from really bending the curve. So if you are amazed, if you've seen magic show up automatically on your phone, on your laptop, in your car, you have not seen anything yet. As I said, these capabilities are getting better and better and better at incredible speeds. And that really provides this incredible tooling at your disposal. And so my closing questions for you are, one, like today, how AI native do you feel like you are on a score of 1 to 10? Secondly, think of a number, score yourself. And then secondly, think about how you could spin up an AI tutor to improve that score. Because you have a personalized tutor available to you for free to improve your knowledge and understanding. You don't need to go to school, go to a class. You can spin up an AI tutor that's customized for your need to improve. And then what can you do to become a 10x leader? Not just a 10x founder, 10x joiner, 10x consultant, analyst, whatever, but to really be a 10x leader. That's my charge for you. Thank you very much. I'll take some questions now. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Jeffrey. It's certainly good to know that AI won't replace founders anytime soon. And it would be historic if a billion-dollar entrepreneur was once at GE or 25. The audience, we have time for a few questions. So,
Please.
Hi, thank you. Right there. Can you talk about how you're using AI, agentic AI, or for the analysts assess, evaluate the deal flow that you get, or whatever is enhancing your actionable ability as a VC? And I'm talking maybe the agent, the analysts, how they're using this technology to help you.
Yeah, we submitted a publicly and made the GitHub available, the code available, a investment memo generator that we've created, that we trained on our best investment memos of the last 20 years at Flybridge, and that we encourage entrepreneurs to submit their business plans or their decks, and we will show them what a VC investment memo looks like of their idea, of their business. And a lot of entrepreneurs are using that now. And then the power is they ask the AI to help improve their ideas. So submit to the memo, get the memo's feedback, feed the feedback into the AI, and improve on the idea. I've created an AI clone of myself, which I've trained on my 3 books, my 80 HBS case studies, my 20 years of blogging. That AI clone is available at delphi.ai. It's delphi.ai/Bussgang. And that's a 24/7 available AI to any entrepreneur in the world to have access to me and my ideas. That's been incredibly powerful for many entrepreneurs, many of my students who have questions at 2 in the morning or on a Saturday or Sunday when I'm hanging out with my family and I'm not answering your emails, but I'm available to bring those lessons to bear. And then we are also, we automate a lot of signals that we've developed about what we think is a backable founder. And then when we see those signals on LinkedIn, when someone does something like leaves a job from a company that we think is a good proving ground for entrepreneurs, we send out an outbound email to them, customized and personalized, just like you would have seen here, and then try to engage them to hear more about their startup. So we're using AI extensively throughout Flybridge, and many VCs are doing that as well. We're not unique and alone in that.
Hey, how's it going? I'm
Good.
Nick. I'm an MBA student here. I had a question about how you think AI is going to impact our relationships. One of the things I think about is, I'm 29. When I was in high school, I got Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. I saw how it kind of rewired my brain negatively. And I really believe we're in an isolation and loneliness crisis. So I wanted to get your take on how AI can be leveraged to help us deepen our relationships.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think there's sort of 2 big concerns you're touching on. One is the individuals getting lost in the AI and not using it to create more time for the people that they care about. I think if we would bank the productivity improvements or some 10% or 20% and then invest that in relationships, we would all be better off and the world would be better off. There's a second element also, which I'm a little bit worried about, frankly, which is that when you get to be in a field as an expert over many decades, you have what's known as crystallized knowledge. And that crystallized knowledge comes from first principles thinking and from training, from doing the thing over and over and over again. And if we begin to see your generation leverage the AI tools to do some of that thinking for you, then how will you develop judgment in a field? How will you develop true expertise? Or will you just be an expert at using the tools to answer the problem, just like some of you may not be great at long division in your heads or on paper because you depend on the computing tools that are at your fingertips. So I think there's sort of multiple things that I'm worried about. I think your point about the loneliness crisis is a really good one. And as I said, I think, trying to use the AI to make you more productive and then bank that productivity to invest in relationships is my personal mantra on that. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Kanayo. I'm an undergraduate student. Sorry. I just have a question, like, how would you use AI to build products? Because I know this is mainly software, and software is kind of like the way people are going with using AI. But how would you use it to build software? And then also, aren't you, to his point, aren't you a little afraid of how it's affecting our society? Because to your point, you said you made an AI to answer questions, but I think when people come to you, they want that human aspect. You provide, your AI might tell you what you wrote in your books, but you might have a different opinion or different way of conveying your message that an AI doesn't provide.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful question, both parts. So the second part, I totally agree with you. There is no replacement for human interaction. In fact, I think these tools make it even more cherished.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody had a great observation, which is when we were in the middle of COVID and we were all in this online world, in-person events were more cherished. That first ball game you went to or that first concert you went to after COVID was that much more cherished. And so I do think we're going to see a higher value placed on human-to-human interaction. To me, my example of the clone, my example of our extending ourselves is more about amplification and yes and than replacing. It's not that I'm going to do fewer office hours with my students. It's that my students are going to have a net greater office hour capacity. The quality in person will be the same, but now I've got this also enhancement to add on to that. And each of you, hopefully will have that. As I said, though, I think you're also going to use these tools to be better at extending yourself to friends and connecting with friends in really authentic ways, but maybe in more scalable, repeatable ways. On the first point about software development, did you mean in your question, you sort of implied a little bit that software and hardware, or do you just want to hear a software answer? AI to build a shoe. Okay, Yink is like the best person in the world to answer this question. So how do you use AI to be a better builder at Helen Gray?
It's interesting. As you were talking, I was like, oh, there's so much we use AI to do, and that's helpful. And then there's stuff that AI, where people are not building in AI, like CAD software and design tools. There's not that much artificial intelligence applied to them. For us, we use it in a mix of ways. I see AI like ChatGPT as the best search engine possible. So oftentimes I'm on the edge of an idea, like right now I'm trying to think of a 2-axis joint mechanism that looks nice. And that's hard to find on Google, and Google isn't helpful for that. But I put in ChatGPT and it gives me a list of like 20 products that were designed in the last 50 years that have a beautiful 2-axis joint. And then I look up those products and those inspire how we're designing and thinking about engineering, for instance. Or sometimes I might use AI to generate initial concepts or mood boards, or look at mood boards we have and we have generated ourselves and then generate more ideas, etc. So it becomes something where you're kind of playing. I think AI is best when it's human and AI interacting rather than when you're just getting AI to generate stuff purely. So we use it as fuel for like creativity, fuel for engineering concepts. And then the last thing, those are probably the main ways we use it. And then I just think in general with a business, there's a lot of busy work that you have to do, like writing up product specs, where we might use AI to generate an initial concept, or I might generate a concept and then say, can you like just boost this, or what am I missing here I'm not thinking about? In general, you might be thinking like, okay, how do I make a shoe and how a shoe's produced and what are, 4 different ways of making it? And a term might come up and you'll be like, okay, explain that term to me so I understand more about it. So I just use it to like dive deeper and as a collaborative partner for creativity, for engineering concepts, etc. But it can't yet necessarily design, and that's okay because hopefully you can. Yeah.
Great answer. And I think one of the things that Yink is hinting at is that you have the smartest person on the planet in your pocket available to you 7x24 for free to ask a bunch of questions though. Why wouldn't you take advantage of that? And again, I'm not endorsing any particular tool, whether it's Perplexity or Claude or Gemini or ChatGPT or some other tool you love. The message is you all should be playing with the tools and learning how to be great at leveraging the tools, because the tools are just getting better and better and better. And in the next 5 years, I guarantee there will be different tools. And in the next 10 years, there will be different tools. But if you don't get on the curve now, you're going to fall behind those that are on that learning curve. Yeah. Yeah. You asked a great question last time, so I'm going to, yeah.
Hi, Jariel, once again, undergraduate student. I really would like to bridge my understanding and learn what are the inherent differences between leveraging generative, your standard generative AI, and the agentic AI that you were mentioning in the presentation.
Sure. So agents are making decisions on your behalf and taking actions on your behalf. So the difference between a standard, let's say, co-pilot would be, as Yinka described, if you're thinking about a big vacation over spring break. When is spring break for you guys? It's coming soon. All of you have great plans, I'm sure. But if you're last minute thinking about plans and you want to look into tickets and great destinations and go somewhere warm, you might have a conversation with ChatGPT about the best island in the Caribbean and meeting your needs and where the food is good and where there might be good Airbnbs available and blah, 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 blah. An agentic system where you would say, here are my parameters, here's what I'm looking to do, book the trip for me. And it knows your credit card, and it's got a connection into PayPal or Stripe, and it's got a connection into booking.com, and it makes the Delta flight or the JetBlue flight for you, and it books the Airbnb for you, and it sets you up with an Uber to get you to the airport, and it sets you up with an Uber to pick you up because it knows your flight, and it just does it. And it does it across all those modalities. That's what an agent would do. And really, it's a series of agents. So I'll give you another example. One of my portfolio companies has 3,000 AI agents that work for them. Okay, 10 employees, 3,000 AI agents. It's a software development firm, and one agent takes problems, concepts, and translates them into a product requirements document. And another agent takes the product requirements document and defines a technical architecture. And another agent takes the technical architecture and defines technical specifications. And another agent takes the high-level technical specifications and provides detailed technical specifications. And another agent takes as input the detailed tech specs and then creates the products and actually writes the code. And another agent evaluates the code. And another agent puts the code up into the GitHub repository, and so on and so forth. So the agents are all very specialized. Just like this example I gave you, your agent might be a booking agent for the flight, a booking agent for the Ubers or Lyfts, a booking agent for the Airbnb, a booking agent that looks at the websites and decides which are the most compelling Caribbean islands that you want to visit. That's the agentic future you're about to enter into.
We'll take 3 more questions, you and you and you. But before, so sorry about that. Before that, Professor Jeffrey has very graciously accepted to sign his copies of the Experimentation Machine during the break. So for those of you who did come early and grab the book, you can get it signed. For those of you who haven't gotten the book, he's given you a 15% discount access code, which will either reach you by mail after GEL or is already in your mailbox.
Thank you.
Back to questions.
Hi, Professor Bussgang. Thank you so much for this experience speech. And here's my question. AI is absolutely a trend. And I'm now building an AI agent for hospitality industry. And somehow this
You're building an AI agent for the hospitality
Right,
industry? You two should connect. She wants to book her spring break trip with you.
So for my AI agents, we are mainly focused on the labor shortage problem. So hospitality is a very conservative market. So here's my problem. So what's your strategy would you recommend for building a mutual entry point that balances innovation with industry acceptance?
It's a great question. The technology lifecycle adoption curve I showed earlier is still, although the curve is getting bent, it's still real. Humans still have difficulty changing, and organizations have difficulty changing. And so you have to find a market insertion point where you can find the early adopters and the innovators who are willing to change. And, Connor described earlier, get 100 people or 1,000 people to love your product, not 1 million people to like your product, which is a quote from Brian Chesky, the founder of Airbnb. Narrow your initial market focus, really hone in on their needs, ideally find the innovators in that narrow focus, and then get them to love your product and iterate from them. That's really the go-to-market playbook. You bet. You had pointed to 2 others. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. Thank you, Jeffrey, for being here. My name is Carlos, second year MBA. And my question is something that Jinka was mentioned, and you also pointed out in your presentation. More founders now are using AI and they're going from 0 to 10 million ARR, right? The question is, which part along the journey of the founder they are using AI? They are using at the very beginning, the middle, or more in this growth phase?
Yeah. So I am finding the founders are using AI in all parts of the journey, every single step. And I'll give you a very tangible example of that. In my class this semester, for the first time, my first assignment was generate a startup idea using ChatGPT. Then generate an experiment that you would run using ChatGPT to test that startup idea. And at first the students do 1 prompt and then they're done. And then they learn, well, wait a minute, maybe I should feed in my LinkedIn profile and my resume. And maybe I should feed in a couple customer conversation transcripts that I have had about kind of the general problem space I'm interested in. Maybe I should feed in an analyst report or 2 about a topic that I've been reading about that I think is of interest, the hospitality industry, let's say, or the hair braiding industry. And then they start having dialogue and they start getting to from the general to the very specific, and they start generating some really interesting ideas. Then they generate some interesting experiments. Step 2 of that assignment is leverage research-driven ideation, innovation, RDI, which is a new methodology that's coming out of Stanford Business School to do deep research on the idea and on the problem space. And the way the RDI process works is you take almost like a PhD researcher approach to an industry and go very, very deep on that industry. Then step 3 is use an AI tool, and there are 2 I recommend. One is called Spark Rockets, and the other is called Chat PRD. Use one of these AI tools to go from the idea, which you've tested a little bit with ChatGPT, you've used the research-driven innovation process to go deeper in, maybe develop some nuanced insights, use Spark Rockets or Chat PRD to generate a lean canvas in the case of Spark Rockets and a product requirements document in the case of Chat PRD. All these tools are free, by the way. Like I said, you've got the smartest person in the world on your topic, in your domain, in your pocket. Like you can access them to have these conversations. And then use the tools I just mentioned before, Replit, Lovable, Cursor, whatever, Bubble, to build a V1 MVP. You can do all of that for free as a business person. That's incredible. And you can do all that in a few days. Like that's the magic of the tools. And yes, then you can scale, go to market, and then you can have 5 engineers instead of 50 engineers and 5 sales reps instead of 50 sales reps as you begin to scale. But really the 0 to 1 or even -1 to 0 stage is where the real magic can be. So one more question. You had picked somebody and I don't remember who you picked. Yes.
Yeah, me right here.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Craig Pereira. I graduated from Babson's MBA program last year, and now I have my hands in a couple of small startups. So I kind of have like a 2-part question. The first is, like my time is consumed working on these businesses and reaching out to people, but I also like to implement AI wherever I can. Can you recommend some ways to keep up with the rapid change in AI? Because it moves so much faster than I can keep up and implement it into the business. And then kind of the second part is touching on her question. If we're going to supply our information to a Chat GPT or something like that, you know, my Booking.com profile, password, and all sorts of different things, how do we manage the cybersecurity aspect of it? Because if I put this information to the wrong AI tool, like that could go my entire business or my like all my personal information.
Yeah. Look, all your personal information is already shared with Google.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So
But I trust
you
Google.
double down, then keep working with Google.
Yeah.
Go to Gemini.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, look, you all have shared so much personal information with these large companies. There's nothing you can say that's gonna, shake things up. I love the question about IP and patents, by the way. Like in software and ideas, like these ideas are a dime a dozen. All of your ideas are, I'm sure, fantastic. Nothing's patentable, really. I mean, Yinka's hardware device is patentable if you get to that point, yes. But just the ideas, and when you're in that ideation process, when you have a couple customer interviews, most of these tools are very good. About the mature companies, the Microsofts, the Googles, obviously, OpenAIs are very good about cybersecurity and about maintaining data privacy. Apple, very good at these things. Okay, but your first question was how do you keep up?
Yeah.
Ask the AI tools to help you keep up.
I do that sometimes.
Right? I mean, so like I've trained OpenAI. They now have this daily bulletin tasks thing. You may have seen other AI tools now have this tasks functionality. I have it give me a daily brief. And I also, now the other thing I do is back to the first question about humans. I also have circles of friends who are AI nerds like me. And we form WhatsApp groups and Slack channels, and we just share a bunch of articles and podcasts that we think are interesting. And if it's interesting to you all, I can share the reading list that I recommend to my students, which might be of interest, the kind of the curated 3 or 4 best blog posts and 2 or 3 best podcasts that I really am quite religious about following. I'm happy to do that as a follow-up. Yeah, sure. Thank you guys very much. Great to be here. Thank you.